All right, folks, it's another episode of the Gary and Mark Show. And I'm Gary.
And I am Mark.
And we're coming to you. We're not live.
We're not live, but we are alive, Gary.
We're alive.
And we're alive somewhere entirely new.
Well, we are. We are in the living room of the house where I live with my wife, Barbara.
That's right. We've been on the porch one time, early days of COVID.
That's
2 years ago.
Yeah.
But first time you let me come indoors. Thank you, Gary.
Threat of rain.
Yeah, it was back in February last time, and it was like 12 degrees out there, and he said, can't come in because of COVID. But thank you, Gary. It's nice to come inside. I've never seen this house.
Oh.
So, just kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
36 years we've been here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. Probably older than a guest.
Close.
All right, we have a guest.
We do.
Let's get right into our guest unless we got something else.
Let's get right into, because we are super honored today. This guy, we're not making this stuff up. This guy is the real deal. He's the author. I'm going to hold up. This is the first book he did on hiking North Carolina's fire towers.
It is, and of course now our radio listeners here are probably not seeing this book. But
they're not.
You can describe the...
Well, it's a beautiful view from... Which one's that from, Peter?
That one's from the Yellow Mountain Lookout Tower.
Yellow Mountain Lookout Tower. Anyway, so Peter Barr here, who we're going to let him talk about it, but I got to talk about him first. This book came out in 2008, and this guy so loves North Carolina's fire towers and protecting them. He's raised money to help fix them up. And his love of these fire towers did not stop with this guidebook. He just put out a book with the photographer Kevin Adams. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
It was last year, but it kind of came out during the COVID period, so it feels like it's still just come out.
It's called Exploring North Carolina Fire Towers. It is a gorgeous coffee table book, and I have a coffee table, but I don't have the book on the coffee table.
But do you own the book, Gary?
I don't yet.
Did he bring you a sample in the car?
But anyway, you can get this book in a soft cover for $30.
That's right.
And hard cover for $40. He did a presentation in Hendersonville Library just last week. I went, and a big hit.
So I'm curious how many fire towers there are in North Carolina that people can visit.
Well, first, to follow up, Gary, if anybody is interested in it, it'd be an honor, but you can get it at nclookouts.com.
nclookouts.com.
And I'll even sign it.
Okay, and we'll put that in the web link and stuff for people to check out.
The book features 28 historic fire lookout towers in western North Carolina. There's a few more than that, but the others aren't publicly accessible.
So, having only seen a few up close, I mean, are they still in use? In other words, not accessible, but can people? I mean, they still use them for fire search.
No, they no longer use them for fire detection. Fire detection more modernly, starting in the 60s, 70s, depending on whether it was National Park Service, U.S. Forest Service, they started to decommission them because they replaced fire detection with aerial detection. They could fly one plane, cover a whole lot more area, see a lot more stuff. They don't have to pay a whole bunch of guys on mountaintops all over the region, and then keep up these structures that fall apart in these extreme situations. So no longer used for fire detection, and nowadays most fire is reported by the public using cell phones. So it's actually a lot cheaper and more efficient today. But many of them are still around, and they now are often incorporated into our outdoor recreation trail systems, and whether that be national forests, state parks, national parks.
Okay, so how tall are you, just offhand?
I'm 6'1".
Oh, you are? Because I said, we look so short because I think it's our chairs are
we're not that much shorter than Peter. We just gave him
not
the
that
tall
had anything
chair.
to do with anything, but I'm just saying he looks, okay, but he's definitely taller than me anyhow.
So I'm going to, another thing here about when Peter Barr came to Diamond Brand in 2008 wanting to do the book launch for his book. And I just knew him as an enthusiastic kind of person, and like he'd been to a few other book launches there, and that's where he wanted to do it. And I think we had about 80 people. Goodness. I mean, he had a good turnout. But at that time in his life, he was not really a public speaker. And I'm over there kind of hoping this is going to go okay. And it will go. It did, because what came through was his love of the outdoors and the history. And it seems like, didn't you, your first fire tower you climbed up was Shuck Stack?
It was.
And it was like Paul on the road to Damascus. I mean, it was kind of like a religious experience.
It was. In fact, that very first fire tower actually changed the direction of my life. After that, climbing that tower and finishing that backpacking trip, I pretty much knew from that moment, standing in that tower, that I no longer wanted to pursue the career path I was on. I was in college at the time, and that I wanted to pursue a career that involved these mountains and involved this very special region, whether that be protecting and conserving them or building trails on them. And ultimately, that's what came to be and what led me to this region and to have a career involving the mountains.
So Peter is a trail specialist and designer and all kinds with Conserving Carolina.
And I'm a member of that.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
It's one of the few organizations I still have money to spend.
Yeah.
Keep my membership.
You know,
up,
we
so.
have events where you could provide some auction items like a Pocket Whiz or
The Big Whiz pocketbook.
Now, this guy knows our
Yeah,
podcast.
He does.
He does. We need to make sure he gets a gift card for Rapid Island Resort before we leave.
Yeah, anytime he wants to take his RV there.
Yeah, I know he is an RVer full-time in your RV, right? You said?
Yeah, my wife Allison and I have been full-time adventuring across the country in our RV for about 1.5 years now.
So where is it parked right now then?
Right now it's at our home,
You still have-
south
you
of
still have a
Asheville.
house,
Yeah,
okay.
we do.
So what was your career path? Then you said you decided that wasn't going to be your career path. You're going to go into outdoors more.
Yeah, so I was studying sciences in college and with the intention of going to medical school. And it was the combination of this experience at Shuck Stack and forming this relationship, this instant relationship with the Southern Appalachian Mountains. And then also I had spent quite a good bit of time with different physicians and different specialties and saw a lot of neat stuff. I got to see surgeries and babies born and emergency room visits. But most of those physicians spent a good bit of the time they were with me trying to convince me why other professions might be more appealing to go into, and they all appeared to not be especially fulfilled, and so that kind of left a lasting impact on me too.
Interesting. Now, where is this Shuck Stack?
Oh, that's in the Smokies. And,
Okay.
you know, here, of course, I've been hiking for over 50 years, but I never did that section of the AT till a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah. The trail getting to it, say from Fontana Dam, it's got a lot of ups in it.
It's a hoof.
I think I'll be reading about that one in your book then.
Yeah. So that was his kind of religious experience, but then I still remember from his original presentation too, talking about the Wesser Fire Tower and Earl Schaefer. And so he started talking about Earl Schaefer, the first person credited with thru-hiking the AT in 48, how that, well, I'll let him tell the story, but I went to his presentation again the other night, and he told the story again, and I never get tired of
So
hearing
he's a
it.
public speaker now.
He's a heck of a public speaker,
Probably
and
gets paid to do that, and he's not getting paid to be on this show. So
he's not
Except in gifts.
gifts.
accepting gifts.
Yeah.
We hope that book, Gary. You can give him that book.
Yeah,
is it
he,
autographed by the way?
Heck
Gary?
yeah, it's autographed. I forget where I was now, but anyway.
Sorry.
Peter also
You're in your house.
He thru-hiked the AT
You said that
in 2010 and raised money actually to help protect. Was it the fire tower?
To restore the Shuck Stack Tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you married at that time?
I I was
So
actually
did she-
recently married in 2008.
Did she go with you for part of that, or did she?
She did not, but she was the one who suggested the idea that I do it because she knew it was a lifelong dream of mine. And we were using it as a transition. We lived in the big city of Charlotte, had become disenchanted with city life. And
tell me about
at that point, we had been coming up to Western North Carolina almost every weekend for a handful of years. So here started feeling more like home than Charlotte, and so we moved. And the through hike was a transition between that.
And you did that in 2010.
Yes.
And Allison gets big credit for that because anybody I know who's through hiked the trail, their support crew,
She was along
Yeah.
to help support.
Yeah, she would mail me boxes in every
But
town.
she didn't
so
follow you along in a truck, though.
No, but she was my support from home for sure. She'd mail me a box about every 5 days that had food, and even counting out the number of pieces of toilet paper that I needed.
Oh my
So
gosh, that sounds like Gary
she
during
was-
when we had that shortage of toilet paper. You said you and Barbara used to count out so many squares apiece.
Squares, yeah, count squares.
Well, that sounds great. So I've been section hiking, through hiking for 40 some years. I'm up to like mile 32 now, so I got a ways to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it.
Now,
but,
Mark used to have a summer camp that was located very close to Carver's Gap.
yeah, it was
Okay.
between Iron Mountain Gap and Hughes Gap.
Okay,
right
yeah.
below Roan Mountain.
Sure.
Yeah, you've hiked that place.
Oh,
I have hiked that section
There's a hostel up there now, Greasy Creek Hostel or something like that.
with the crazy cat lady.
Really?
Yes.
I could check her out. Doing one of my,
Forgive me, I forget her name, but that was one of the more interesting experiences on my.
she's still doing that.
I believe she is.
Jerry, we need to go up there and do a podcast.
Okay.
And by the way, that term "crazy cat" that's an endearing term.
Oh, good.
She's a wonderfully kind lady, and but there are several cats there, which I love, and they're very interesting and have their personalities and shapes and sizes.
So we had one through hiker interviewed on our show a long time ago.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, Chuck Heron.
Yeah.
And
Can't remember what year he went.
Yeah, I can't even, but 20 or 30 years ago or so. Maybe it was 20th year, being 20 years since that. But
Yeah.
So you're only second one I've actually met. I've heard of people.
I got a guy right down the street here, Charlie,
He's down
named Stilts. That was his. He's 6 foot.
Yeah, what was your trade name?
Whippers.
My trail name was Whippersnap. I got that when I was a lot younger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gary,
but
if you were hiking the AT, what would your trail name be?
I don't know. I slow.
You'd be slow. I'd be
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, there's a, and when I went to Pardee and somebody was doing something to me there, some medical, oh yeah, they threw like, I mean, there are a bunch of people around who have done this, but Peter, the story of Earl Schaefer and the Wesser Fire Tower, if he kind of plugged that again.
Yeah, I wanna hear about that,
Yeah, you bet. So Earl Schaefer, as Gary said, was the first person to ever through hike the Appalachian Trail. He did it in 1948. The AT, when it was envisioned and then constructed, it was never meant to be by its founders a trail that you would hike 2,000 miles from
really?
Georgia to Maine through 14 states. But Earl knew about the trail. It went nearby his home in York, Pennsylvania. And Earl had been in World War II, so 1948, he was pretty fresh back from the war, and I think he had a lot that he wanted to forget about or work through in his mind. So he basically walked off the war.
He lost a close friend, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
In the war.
Yeah. And so Earl set out to do this. He was a very humble man. He did not make any fanfare about this. He didn't announce it. It was just a personal endeavor to him. And so after about a week and a half, roughly, he came upon the Wesserbald Fire Tower, which is in the Nantahala National Forest on the Appalachian Trail. And Earl looked up and he saw the fire tower operator up there, and he's waving him and he says, "Come on up, come on up." And as you can imagine, somebody whose profession is a fire tower lookout, they're on these remote mountain peaks. They're all alone. So they're incredibly lonely. So he was very excited to see another human being. It had been many
And hiking
days.
probably wasn't all that common back then.
No, in fact, Yeah, I don't think he was seeing many people along that trail. I think a lot of people had begun to forget about the Appalachian Trail or didn't even yet know what it was. So Earl stayed the night in the tower after the invitation, and they had dinner together, and they spent most of the night awake talking. And Earl wrote in his journal they covered they fought 2 world wars. They covered 3 political election campaigns, and they traveled the world over during that conversation. And he woke up the next morning, wrote that he saw the most beautiful sunrise he had ever witnessed, even during all of his time in the South Pacific. And so it was a meaningful place to him. But Earl went along his way. He ended up making it to Maine 4 months later and became the first person to accomplish this feat. But it was kind of right when Earl left what was significant about that visit, because, again, that tower operator, he hadn't seen anybody in a while. He's pretty excited about that. And so he was just enamored with Earl taking this long distance journey. I mean, it's pretty amazing even to this day.
Yeah.
So he's got nobody to talk to. So usually telephone wires were strung up to these towers. That's how they report the fires. And he got on the phone and told all of his friends, and he called actually the next couple towers up and said, "Hey, this guy's coming." And so in which case Earl would actually stay in a number of other ones. And they would even know his name by the time he got there. So word was starting to get out, but then word really got out down into towns like, wow, is this really this man hiking 2,000 miles? And there was, and it caught the attention of local media, and it got to the point where, despite Earl being a humble guy and not wanting to make a big deal about this, when he got to mile 500 in Damascus, Virginia, the local newspaper was there to meet him. And why this is really significant is because in the post-World War II era, the whole Appalachian Trail, the concept of this National Scenic Trail, was really kind of falling out of favor. It was losing enthusiasm, losing steam. In fact, Earl wrote in 1948, most of the trail was overgrown and not even marked. In fact, he had a strong difficulty following it. And so at that point in our nation's history, the AT really risked not being the thing that we now know it as today, not being this beloved landmark, this incredible experience. And so I make the argument in the book that Earl Schaefer and the Westerwald Lookout Tower helped to save the Appalachian Trail during one of its most critical moments, because that's where word from Earl Schaefer's thru-hike got out.
So that's he got to stay in the towers?
He did, yeah.
That's amazing. Pretty cool. So what about poor old Grandma Gatewood, whatever her name was?
With her shower curtain?
That's
I mean,
right.
after the rough life she had with her horrible husband and all the kids she'd bore, you know.
So what year did she hike? the
50s?
Yeah, early 50s.
50s.
Didn't she do it twice? Like she
Yeah, I think she did.
I've done-
I mean, didn't she start out one time in Maine and get lost? And I think she had a mishap her first time, and then later. I've got a book
She
about
didn't
her
have
here.
a real backpack, did she? Didn't she have like a rucksack or her
Oh,
blanket?
like a
Tied up
laundry bag or something. I did a presentation once at the AT, the 2013 thing, about hiking and gear, since I'd worked in a store. And the first picture I threw up is Grandma Gatewood, you know, with her laundry bag and her shower curtain. And I said, you know, this is the photo that strikes fear in the heart of any outdoor retailer. You know, this is, but she was just a tough farm woman. She was a tough.
Had to have been. So was Earl Schaefer. Had to have been tough.
You know, and back to Peter here and his devotion to the kind of the history, when he did the AT in 2010, of course, you start at Springer, but he also had to go make a pilgrimage to Mount Oglethorpe, which was the original southern terminus.
Oh, really?
When the trail was designed. And he also had to go to the Smithsonian, where they had Earl Schaefer's notebook, his boots, his Army, whatever the mountain pack that he used that was a Army surplus. Yeah.
During the trail, you went to the Smithsonian?
I did.
You got off the trail and got a ride or something?
Yeah, so my wife would come see me every once in a while. And the last place she came to see me that was within reasonable range was Washington, D.C. area. So she picked me up on the northern end of Shenandoah National Park, and she has family there, so we stayed a couple days in Washington, D.C. and made that pilgrimage. And Gary, another place I also went to was I spent the night on the Westerbaugh Lookout Tower, just like Earl did.
Oh, there you go.
So these towers are still open where people can go in them, or they
Well, that one's like
up?
a deck now, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
they're all different forms. Some of them have been converted specifically to an observation platform or lookout.
So they're safe, more or less.
Mostly. They're in continually deteriorating condition because of their locations and their remoteness. It's hard to keep up with them. But then others you can go all the way up into the what's known as the cab. And then the cab is still there, but the agency that administers it locks it to prevent vandalism. And so you can still climb the stairs, which will often get you a really good view, even if you can't get up inside it.
So they're not trying to take any of them down purposely, I mean.
No, they still are, because they continue to deteriorate and they become unsafe and they become liabilities. So different agencies, for example, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Gary, I'm sure you've hiked to many places where you saw the tower footings still there and cabin foundation. So a lot of them have been taken down, and several of them continue to be taken down. Down your way, Mark, there was a tower that I swear they took down because they knew I was on the Appalachian Trail, because I've been this advocate for towers and lobbying about their historical significance. And in 2010, I had opposed it for a couple of years because I heard it was coming. And in 2010, they removed the tower on top of Tryon Peak just above Columbus.
I didn't even know there was one there. As late as 2010?
2010. Yep.
So the North Carolina Forest Service, or who had property?
North Carolina Forest Service, yeah. North Carolina Forest Service had the most fire towers in the state because they were charged with protecting and overseeing private land, so protecting your house and my house and our property. Other agencies that had towers were the U.S. Forest Service, National Park Service, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and North Carolina State Parks.
Well, I want to hear about your work. I want you to tell folks what Conserving Carolina is, what the organization is, and it's exactly what you do with them.
Sure. So Conserving Carolina is the local land trust
He's got his hat on. There you
to Henderson and Transylvania counties, and then we also cover Polk County, so down your way, and parts of Rutherford County, particularly in the Hickory Nut Gorge and Lake Lure area, and then even into the edges of upstate South Carolina. And edges of surrounding counties, tiny little bit of Buncombe and Jackson County as well. And we protect land and water resources, conserve them, set them aside, largely to improve quality of life. And a lot goes into this. So if you protect a natural piece of land that has a lot of natural heritage, even sometimes cultural heritage, it keeps this region beautiful, as scenic as it is. It's why so many people come here. Some people come here to camp. It increases recreational opportunities like trails for hiking, mountain biking, rock climbing. It preserves rare species. The Southern Appalachians, highly diverse place. So a lot of reasons that land conservation is important, and we try to protect the land and water.
And your money comes, I know there's memberships, but most of it's from grants or?
A big mix. We do get a lot of grants and work hard to seek those out. We have memberships. We have larger donors. We have foundations. We are sometimes left in the estates in people's wills. And we apply for funding to a couple of North Carolina's state trust funds. These are set aside specifically for conservation and parks and recreation.
Mm-hmm. You stand back one of those funds?
Oh yeah.
Yes, he is. He is one of the more prominent donors to land conservation, not only projects that we've protected, but across the entire state and, frankly, across the entire Southeast.
Yeah.
So your job with Conserving Carolina is to help, you said, Gary, design trails or lay them out and what?
Tell us exactly what you did. I mean,
yeah. So before I went on the road full time, I was the trails director at Conserving Carolina. Now I'm known as the trail specialist. That one kind of sounds cooler.
That sounds good,
right? And what I do is I take an idea for a trail, or come up with an idea for a trail, or take somebody else's idea or proposal and take it all the way through, from vision to start to finish to caring for it, for trail projects on lands that we've protected. So that includes the planning, the dreaming part of it. That then includes the feasibility and the landowner relations. Oftentimes, a lot of these trails go across private lands, and we negotiate with the landowners for permanent public access. And then I do the physical design, crawling around on my hands and knees, often through rhododendron, putting flags in the woods and laying out the route of the trail. And we do this particularly in a really sustainable way, so not in a steep, straight up the mountain way. And this is because we're a land trust. So natural resource protection is our primary mission. Trails are just kind of a complement to them. So if we put a trail in, we have to make sure it's going to have a very minimal impact upon the land when we put it in, and then when other users come and use it for decades into the future, that it still minimally impacts that land. And then I build the trails, and whether that be hiring contractors with machines to build it, leading volunteer crews, working out there with them, putting together a lot of resources to get it on the ground. And then when it's all said and done, care for the trail. So maintain it, steward it, manage it. There's oftentimes even more management than there is maintenance, because there's parking lot and overcrowding issues. And for example, COVID, we saw a huge surge in outdoor recreation use of our trails. And then I would say I'm also a fundraiser and marketer, because I have to contribute to the team effort to raise money for these trail projects, to build them, to acquire the land or acquire the easement, to put them on the ground, continually care for them, build all those rock stairs on Wildcat Rock.
Boy, what an amazing feat.
So where is that trail? Is that in...
Well, he would go from Girton down at up to Bearwalla.
And you say that's tough.
It's because it's well built, but it's got lots of step ups, which for these old legs, I had my trekking poles too, but a lot of step ups.
Gary, there's a funny story why those steps are so big. Have I told it to you? So the reason they're high knee steps, meaning they are much taller than a normal step, is because each one of those stairs cost me a lot of money. So
well, there we go. I'm sure it did.
So I tried to minimize the amount we use.
So how would you I imagine those steps weigh hundreds of pounds then?
They do.
So how do you get them up there?
Yeah, so they were quarried probably about 100 yards away from the side of the mountain. There's a lot of rock on the north side of the mountain, especially in the Hickory Nut Gorge. But then the contractor, that project was done by an outfit, Benchmark Trails, out of Greenville, South Carolina, led by a really talented rock worker on trails named Dino Contos. And he and his crew quarried them about 100 yards away, and I kid you not, they flew them through the air and put them directly and dropped them directly in place where they needed to go. And they did this with a highline system, cables, and
you mean
grip hoist.
not a helicopter? You mean they picked them up on cables? And
yeah.
Oh
metaphorically, they flew them through the air, but yeah, they hoisted them up on a cable to a horizontal line, then flew them horizontally over that 100 yards. And then lowered them down into place. And they did this up from the waterfall, Gary. There's many more stairs. There's probably 500-600 stairs on that trail, but right by the waterfall, those particularly high ones, 136.
Wow. So there's no plan to do like Grandfather Mountain, put an elevator up through the middle.
No. But we do have an elevator in the Hickory Nut Gorge. You can take an elevator up most of the way up Chimney Rock.
Well, I got to say, all your Conserving Carolina stuff you've done, Bearwalla Sunday after, by the time we got back to Bearwalla Sunday afternoon, it was packed with people.
It's gorgeous.
The gravel road down there, just cars lined up. And
no, that's not the gravel road, not Boys Camp Road. This is
no. This is up
closer
Bearwalla.
to Girton.
You've been in
there,
Howard now.
Oh yeah.
It
is gorgeous.
Yeah,
We're
up near the
to,
Grand Highlands. which this is nicer to me than the Grand Islands. But
Sounds better in Girton.
yeah,
No offense to Girton people. You live in Girton?
I do not.
Okay, but it's nice.
it's the furthest place you can get from anywhere. It'd still be in Henderson County,
Right.
Girton.
I come through there to go visit a guy. Blue Ridge Adventure Vans. Ever heard of?
Sure,
that
sure.
guy? Yeah, he's done a couple things on my van, so I come the long way through Lake Lure.
Yeah,
because I like that road. And it's
Yeah,
fun.
they put solar panels and everything on.
All kinds of cool stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
I got familiar with them a little bit. My wife and I put solar panels on our RV. So
Yeah, we'll have to do a podcast about that sometime.
Yeah, because we didn't even mention that. This is both Mark and Gary share. They're both RV people.
Yeah, but he's full time.
Yeah.
Lives in his. I live in mine just every so often. A week every 3 weeks or 4 weeks or so.
but you host people like
I
us.
do. I've had a lot. Yeah, Boondockers welcome. So this land, like at Hickory Gorge, who owns that? Is that some of it still privately owned, or does Conserving Carolina own it, or state own it, or
it's a big mix of everything you just mentioned. The majority of it is actually still privately owned, and so as a land trust, one of our specialties is working with private landowners, only willing private landowners who want to partner with us on a project. And so we'll either acquire their land, they may sell it to us, they may donate it to us, or oftentimes what we do is purchase or receive the donation of a conservation easement. And that's where they protect the natural resources on it. They can't ever develop it, build on it, they can't mine it, log it, but they still own it. And Bearwall Mountain's actually a
they
case
can't
of that.
sell it, or
They can sell it, but
it
the
would be
conservation easement goes with the deed of
so
the
you couldn't
property.
develop it, so you can sell it just for a natural
Right.
place. So if someone's
Right.
going to buy it, they're
And
gonna,
then they get an incentive like a tax break.
They do, because conservation has a benefit
Yeah.
to our entire communities.
So would you? Gary's got like a quarter of an acre back there. Would you be interested in getting an easement on that?
On that, see
Not
we have an
specifically.
old city right of way back behind here, so we could put a little trail on there.
Yeah, a little one.
Yeah,
Well, one I could do. Go by Gary's outdoor shower.
Yeah, which I haven't turned on yet,
What?
but I can.
It's
It's
April
warm
almost?
enough. Yeah, usually late April.
Yeah, so
Usually
Gary likes
I'll-
to take his showers outdoors.
I
Did
see.
you know that?
How do your neighbors feel about that?
They
Gary?
can't see it.
Okay.
So
He
they're-
thinks they can't see it.
Would they tell you?
No, they wouldn't.
Who's that lady on Bewitched that was always a nosy neighbor? She probably lives back there and she
No, I
sees you.
actually got a new neighbor here, but I don't think she can't see from here.
Okay.
That's what he
All
thinks.
right. So, any regrets about not going into the medical field? Sounds like you're
No,
set.
not at all. I found my professional career very, very fulfilling, and it's really exciting to be part of not only protecting land, but to be building something that then is a way to share that land with others, and for not just now, but generations in the future.
Yeah.
So, no, not a single regret.
So, are you from Charlotte? You mentioned you came.
I
from
grew up in Charlotte,
Okay.
yeah.
Where'd you go to school? Just offhand.
Out in Union County at
Okay.
Piedmont High School.
I'm curious. I don't know any schools in Charlotte. I'm just was a retired teacher, so I'm always curious where people went to school. Like Gary, did you go to school? Yeah, he
I
went to
did.
school. He went to Kentucky.
You know, and
Did you finish?
eventually I did. But the idea of any kind of school with extra years, like, no.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
no,
wanna
I
do
know,
that.
yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, especially
No.
a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a doctor of trails.
Yeah.
We could probably use him in our university. You think so, Gary?
I think so. I
You know-
think he could be. Put him on the faculty list.
All right, Gary.
Yeah,
How can we forget this?
yeah.
Almost hit the toilet button, though.
Well, we're honored here. Our newest faculty member.
Oh, man, we got more faculty members than students, Gary.
we do.
You sure this is an
Peter
honor?
Barr,
Peter Barr.
our fire tower specialist, our trail specialist.
Better write this down. All right, you make the
Oh, look at
presentation
this!
here.
Look here and here.
Hold it up to the camera.
Right, hold it up to the camera. You people on the radio, I'm holding up. Here you go, Peter Barr.
And it's framed. Yes,
It's framed. A BS in podcasting.
That's the wrong sticker. We got to get his GMP
GMP
on the back of it.
Oh yeah, well,
But that's
I've
his-
got those.
That's his
too.
bone. I've got him over here. I
Anyway,
just thought
so Peter Barr here, author, trail specialist, backpacker, outstanding human, and husband of Allison Barr. And another shout out to Allison. He couldn't do all this stuff without her. Anyway, there we go. He now is a graduate of the Gary and Mark Podcasting University. I bet this is going to go in a prominent place in the RV.
You know what? It should. And we can get you a duplicate office for the Conserving Carolina people.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
They would be very proud of that, and you should be proud of that. There aren't many people who have one of those.
And with extra honors.
Extra honors,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Gary's working on the curriculum for the master's degree program in that, but we're not quite there yet.
Is it going to be more rigorous?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It will
Can be less, I'll say that much.
It'll be.
And so people who don't know, our viewers, if someone first time tuning in, tell them about the Gary and Mark Podcasting University, Gary, like how much it cost.
Well, it actually doesn't cost you anything other than your time. You could enroll, get a degree, and not owe anybody any money. Well, it's free.
It's free. And you get a certificate. You
get a certificate
with your name on it,
with
not
your
just
name on
inked
it.
in with a Sharpie or something.
Remember, education is painful and expensive, but in this case,
it's free.
It's free.
Yeah. And we are the only university still in this country or world where you can enroll and graduate in the same day. Sometimes the same hour. If
Same
I'm out of
hour.
computer.
We were pointed the spear on COVID.
And I'm living proof.
There you go.
There you go. He didn't even know he had entered. He'd enrolled.
There you go.
Not only did he enroll and graduate in just the last 30 minutes, he's now become a professor.
Yeah.
All right. That looks going to look good on your list of
Honors.
things in your next book.
Yeah.
Do you have any books coming out?
I have long been working on a book about the 100 highest peaks in the southeastern United States, so in the southern Appalachians. I've kind of given up on it, but I may start working on it again.
Our 12 viewers will probably buy a copy.
That would be great.
So, or 12 listeners and viewers. So, Gary, I think it's been a good show.
Tickle pink that we got to have Peter Barr.
I know. I'm glad to meet him.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of Gary's. And I feel like we're friends now, too.
Yeah.
We're also RV buddies. We'll
You're
look for you down the
RV
road.
buddies.
And co-faculty.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a faculty meeting soon. As soon as this is over, we'll have a faculty meeting. So, 3 of us. That's enough.
All right. Now we got to thank our sponsors.
I was going to say, if Gary can remember that. Do you remember the sponsors, Gary?
Well, I remember there's the Big Whiz Pocket Buddy.
Which Peter has mentioned quite
that.
a bit.
And now that COVID's kind of been receding, it's coming back, the Big Whiz Pocket Buddy.
That's right.
There's
It's still a useful app.
Yeah.
Yep. And a Rabbit Island, of course.
Rabbit Island Resort's just a hair better.
And we're not there today, but salute to Outfitters.
Yeah.
Yep.
The White Dove release.
There you go, L.J. Myers.
L.J. Myers.
We got a lot of just like students and graduates and professors. We have more of our sponsors than we have money. Actually, we need to hit them up for some money.
Let's see, Green River, Big Eddie's Green River Tap Room.
That's pretty good.
Pretty close.
That's
Big
pretty
Eddie.
close. Big Eddie, Green River Eddie's.
Big River
I forgot
room,
to.
something.
We also got Iron Key Brewing. He stopped drinking beer for a few days, but that's down in Columbus, North Carolina.
It's in a former prison
It is. You ever heard of it?
in Columbus.
I have not.
And then Gary's got these little koozies here from
Athletic Brewing Company, the non-alcoholic beer.
Now, we'll say, Peter, that some of these people don't even know they're sponsors. So, but they gave us three free beers.
That's
together,
all it takes.
Combined. Yeah,
that's all it
not
takes.
3 each. That's all it takes. Yeah. So we want to thank Peter. That was a great show.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You anything else you want to say about some inspiration to our folks?
No, I really want to thank both of you, not only for having me, but for entertaining me for many, many, many hours through your podcast. I've listened to most of them.
And he did tell us how one in the jungles of Hawaii.
He did. He was listening on your phone or something, and
on my phone on the island of Molokai. I was climbing a volcano through the jungle that didn't have a trail, and you guys were keeping me sane and entertained.
That's what we do.
We keep people sane.
I remember that trip almost in lockstep as if it was with you guys.
There we go.
That's cool.
Well, that's as close as I'm going to get to climbing a volcano in Hawaii.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
So I'm Mark.
I'm Gary.
This is Peter.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the next episode. This is episode 54, by the way.
All right. Yep. Boom, 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 boom.